That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, now it's time for us to stop talking about how we are trying to construct our rosters through trades. Now it's time to try to consider what players we are going to make sure are in our starting lineup in week 11, what guys that need to be on our bench. Here, I think that honestly, week 11 is a spot where we have some very intriguing matchups where a lot of the times we're just seeing neutral matchups. We're trying to pick our favorite players. No, here I think we can take advantage, so it's worthwhile putting that effort and time into to make sure you get week 11 right. But before we get into this, guys, please go down to the comment section right now. Let me know what video you would like to see next. Of course, we are going to talk about our must starts and our must sits at both the running back and wide receiver position. But let me know if there's anything else that you would like me to cover. As well, on Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be taking your questions from Instagram and Twitter, turning them into videos. And also, guys, just anything else you would like to see, I'm going to make for y'all. I have a ton of time available. I mean, usually I spend about 2 or 3 hours just doing nothing in a day and spend about 12 hours working on this channel. Well, now my girlfriend's going back home to her family, so now I'll have 15 hours a day to work on this channel for y'all. Let me know what y'all want to see. Maybe we can bump that number up to 5 videos a day. Okay, so let's get into it and let's talk about 5 running backs that I think you need to make sure are in your starting lineup in week 11. And let's start it off with Ezekiel Elliott. Guys, with Zeke, I understand that this Dallas Cowboys offense has been horrendous compared to what they were with Dak Prescott earlier this season. I'm not expecting them to be anything close to what they once were, but I will say, coming out of the bye week this week, I actually think that this Dallas Cowboys offense is going to be in a bounce back spot from where they were a few weeks ago. Just knowing that, yes, Andy Dalton looked horrible as the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback against the Washington football team. We have to acknowledge a couple things here. One, that offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys is in a horrible position in that game, and that they are going up against one of the best defensive lines in the entire NFL. Two, we know that the offensive line is struggling with injuries, so it's going to even make the problem worse, where Andy Dalton just had no time whatsoever to get the ball out, get the ball to his playmakers in CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Well, now they're going up against the Washington football team. I'm not really worried about this Washington defensive unit at all. Their top 2 defensive linemen from the very beginning of the season are not going to be on the team in week 11, so completely fine. Do not need to worry about this pass rush. On top of that, when we are talking about Andy Dalton, this is a quarterback that for one game has had a horrendous sample with the Dallas Cowboys, but that sample size is so small. I actually think that it's going to be a lot more useful to zoom out, really look at Andy Dalton's entire career, try to determine what kind of quarterback he is if we look at it through that lens. And yes, he's by no means near the top of the NFL, but he is by no means a bottom 3 quarterback. I think he is going to be able to provide them, at the very least, maybe mediocre to maybe slightly below mediocre quarterback play. And with CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, I think they are going to bounce back. Ezekiel Elliott has a good matchup this week, and we know that he's going to get pretty much every single touch in this backfield whenever it's a neutral game scenario. Okay, so now our next running back, someone who's coming off a 20-touch performance. Really, the fantasy production was just not there because he was not seeing any of the high-value touches. Regardless, we're going to go right back to him. Damien Harris. Damien Harris going over 100 yards against the Baltimore Ravens this past week. Now he is going to be going up against the Houston Texans. And guys, if y'all watched the Houston Texans versus the Cleveland Browns, it was horrendous in week 9. I mean, Houston just cannot tackle anybody to save their life. We know that the running back position has been completely steamrolling the Houston Texans defense all year now. I expect there to be no difference with Damien Harris here. I am worried that he's not getting targets out of the backfield, so he is going to be very touchdown dependent on whether or not he's going to jump up to the very top of running back rankings. But I think right now, if you're looking at him being a mid to low running back 2, that's going to be an extremely safe play given the matchup. And a small side note is, because of this Houston Texans fault, I actually think that we see a lot of production from Cam Newton as well in this game. I think Cam is not necessarily going to be trying to air it out. I think that he is going to also be running up the middle against this Houston Texans defense. because Bill Belichick is not throwing in that towel yet. The division is not over. We know that the New England Patriots could go on a hot stretch to end the season, end up making the playoffs, and in that scenario, I think that we are going to see that be done with Bill Belichick using Cam Newton to run the ball, and especially in the matchups that look like this against the Houston Texans defense. Okay, so now our next running back, just someone that I need to talk about every single video, because y'all know we were so high on him coming into 2020. Now that he's breaking out, it looks like we're going to be making a lot of money. It looks like we are going to just be living our best lives. DeAndre Swift, coming off a performance where he saw over 20 touches, almost 150 yards, and a touchdown. Guys, DeAndre Swift, I promise you, he is a top 10 running back rest of season. I would rather have DeAndre Swift over Nick Chubb quite confidently. I know a lot of people want to come out here and just crap all over me on that take. Guys, understand something. If Nick Chubb is not seeing any targets out of the backfield, if DeAndre Swift's getting about 5 receptions a game, DeAndre Swift is going to be able to outproduce Nick Chubb even if he has 40 rushing yards less a game. It doesn't matter. That's how fantasy football is worked. You need those receptions out of the backfield if you're going to be that elite option. That is exactly what DeAndre Swift is providing for you. Going up against the Carolina Panthers defense, which just gave up almost 200 yards to Ronald Jones, I would not be surprised if DeAndre Swift was a top 5 running back this week. I think that he's in a very similar range to a Derrick Henry this week, honestly, with Derrick Henry going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Easy to say that he's going to be a top 10 option in week 11 and rest of season. Have no real concerns about DeAndre Swift. And if you truly think that Nick Chubb is going to be a better play than DeAndre Swift rest of season, man, hit me up on Twitter at BuildTheDynasty. I'd love to make some wagers. Okay, so Josh Jacobs is going to be our next must-start running back. This is actually a running back that made our sell high list the few videos ago. But the problem with trying to get Josh Jacobs on our bench is actually, since they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, we're going to be expecting this to be a plus matchup for Josh Jacobs. If you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs defense have been allowing so far through 2020, really, they allow the opposing offense to just ground pound that ball to try to get as many rush attempts in as possible. The Kansas City Chiefs just say, hey, you're not going to beat us by passing, because we know that's the most efficient way to move the football down the field. Andy Reid is too smart for that. So I think that he is going to allow the Las Vegas Raiders to have the run. And we also know that the last time the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs squared off, the Raiders had a massive performance. Just absolutely absurd what we saw from Derek Carr. I'm not expecting that same type of production from the overall offense this week. But what I think we can expect is Josh Jacobs to find the end zone at least once. I think we can expect him to see at least 15 touches. And when that's going to be the case, it's going to be very hard to have him lower than anything as a high-end running back too. So it's almost impossible to get Josh Jacobs out of your starting lineup. Okay, now our next running back is going to be someone that you could have gotten off the waiver wire coming into this week, Kalen Ballage. Kalen Ballage, guys, going over 100 total yards this past week, and now he's going up against the New York Jets in week 11. What I like about Kalen Ballage is not only is he getting the carries in this offense, but he's also getting targets out of the backfield, and he has that size that if they needed to, they could give him every single touch. Clearly, we're not necessarily expecting Kalen Ballage and this Los Angeles Chargers team to be extremely run-heavy with no Austin Eckler, but I think in this given matchup where they are going up against the New York Jets, it's going to make a ton of sense because the Jets are not going to be able to move the ball in the slightest against this Los Angeles Chargers offense. So I'm expecting them to really just control the pace of play with their defense, and then they're going to be able to just make sure they're limiting turnovers by running the ball with Kalen Ballage, because it's going to be the safest route to victory. I could easily see Kalen Ballage seeing anywhere from 4 to 6 targets out of the backfield. We could end up seeing him have over 20 carries this game, being a top 10 running back option. Obviously, not a talented running back, probably one of the worst starting running backs in the league right now. The only concern, though, is actually going to be Joshua Kelly getting some usage in this offense. Justin Jackson on the short-term IR. Austin Eckler not going to be back this week. The only other guy in there to get touches is Joshua Kelly, who we really liked at the beginning of the season, but he looks like he is just completely flamed out now. So please monitor the situation. Monitor if we're getting anything out of Los Angeles from the beat reporters. If they're saying it looks like Kalen Ballage is going to have a smaller role in this game because of Joshua Kelly, I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's going to be something that we need to make sure we are following. Okay, now thank you guys. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. I really hope you all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And I'm going to be live streaming every single night this week for y'all. I'm going to be live streaming Friday night, Saturday night, both at 9 p.m. Central, and Sunday morning to answer your last minute questions. But thank you guys. That's all I got for y'all, and have a great day.